Alright, you guys, just gonna do a quick audio check real fast. And we should be able to start this video. Once again, I'm running behind because obviously I'm new to all of this technology stuff, man. I'm not gonna lie. I am pretty new to the technology, all right? So let's go ahead and get this video started, you guys. We're gonna be looking at MNQ to start this session off, right? Because MNQ is pretty much what I trade for the most part. We're going to be trying something new today as well. I'm going to be bouncing from the chart that I use to trade and then bouncing from a blank chart as well, right? So these charts should be the same. One is NQ and then the other is MNQ. So right now we're looking at MNQH2026 and then as soon as we bounce back and forth, it's pretty much going to be MNQ, right? So we're going to be looking at the same thing. We are on a monthly time frame right now. We're going to switch right into the hourly time frame because, you know, I am moving a little bit behind and this is my first time taking a look at the market, right? So just looking at the higher time frames on this blank chart, you guys. Swing low to swing high, right? So it's funny because I was just watching one of my older videos and I was talking about like how, you know, one of the only things you need to do is understand premium and discount, right? So if this is premium and then this is discount down here, right? We know that we're working in this little bit of a range and then overall, right? This is the entire range, but right now this is the range that made the most, you know, the last significant move, right? So I'm going to be using this range right here from swing high to swing low. I know a lot of people get confused on that, how to place your Fibonacci tool and everything. I have a video on that as well, but it just comes down to looking at the higher time frames, right? It's all about how you're looking at it, right? Because somebody could be using this range on the 4-hour time frame, right? From swing high to swing low. So obviously you want to be aware of all of the ranges, right? You can definitely do that as well. Because that if you're using this range, the only thing I would say is that this gives you information as far as like how bullish we're becoming, right? But I would mostly just use this range because as you guys can see, as soon as we came into that red zone, which is a premium level, right? We had a baby little rejection right there. So I would, this in my opinion is more of a legitimate zone to use, right? More of a legitimate range to use, right? So we're going to drop back into the 1-hour time frame. I'm going to be removing some of the stuff off of my chart. Remember, you guys, this is not the chart that I actually trade off of. This is the chart that I trade off of, right? Completely messy, completely different, right? We're going to be going back and forth from both charts because I want to be able to teach you guys on a more, you know, clear platform for the new beginner traders out there, right? So on a 1-hour time frame, we're going to be looking at all of our swing highs, right? We have a swing high right here. We have a swing high right here. We're going to start just finding the most recent swing highs and swing lows, right? We have a swing low right here on a 1-hour time frame. The reason why we're doing this is because we're going to be looking for swing failures, right? I think JCap did a really good job making a video about swing failures on his channel. I think his like last 2 or 3 videos is all about swing failure. So if you guys don't know what a swing failure is, you can go check out JCap channel. He's, you know, that guy, his payouts speak for themselves, you know. So, all All right, so right here we're getting a potential swing failure on a 1 hour time frame. Still too early to tell. We need to see how this candle closes on a 1 hour time frame. So we're going to have to wait for the 10 a.m. right? So that's why ICT teaches time and price. There is a lot of people who trade as soon as the market opens. There's nothing wrong with that. It's just not something that I like to do personally, right? So I'm not going to leave these on my chart, but I'm just putting those bubbles on the chart so you guys can be aware of some of these highs that I'm going to be looking for, right? On a smaller time frame, we can, see right here, price is dipping below into a discount zone, right? And then on a bigger time frame, we're still in the discount as well, right? So that's going to give us a reason to believe that the market wants to, maybe go up a little bit, because all we're looking for is a day trade, right? We're not looking for a swing trade or anything like that. We're just looking for something to catch within this time frame. All right, so you notice this little yellow box right here, within this range, it is not within a discount zone. So that's why the market is respecting this yellow box right here a lot more, right? You see it's taking off from this level up right here. All right. So the market is also building out liquidity, right here. We don't know if it's going to want to do something crazy and sweep this liquidity today. And that is also why we have to be aware of the bigger time frames, right? Like the 4 hour chart. Like, so on this, if I'm going to use this range, honestly, I would prefer to use the 4 hour time frame, right? And this is how people get confused when it comes to ICT concepts. And you can get tricked out of your trade, because now on a 1 hour time frame, yes, you could have taken this trade from the bounce right there, right, and made a nice little scalp off of that trade. But you also have to be aware of liquidity. Right, you have to be aware of liquidity, because the market can do this stuff right here, and it may not do it all in one day, right? It could do this, create liquidity, bounce up here again, and then come back down, and then sweep that liquidity like that. Right, so you have to be aware of how the market is building out liquidity. Otherwise, you're going to become liquidity, and that means you're going to be losing the trades. All right, so now we can drop down into smaller time frame, like the 5 minute. Once we get a feel for what the market is doing, clearly it's going up, right? We don't have to do too many fancy things to at least recognize the trend. But what we're looking for is liquidity, right? And we have a little gap in the market right here. I'm going to drop into the 1 minute time frame. I want to see where my opening range gap is at. So my opening range gap is right there, right? Seems like we're already breaking above this opening range gap. So I'm going to box this up as well. I want to see how price is going to hold this level. And then that's when we can start to look for liquidity. Now, I like to find my liquidity like at least on a 15 minute time frame or higher. Sometimes I can use the 5 minute time frame as well. Right. We have a little bit of a 5 minute order block right here. You can see the market hits the midpoint of this, have a nice rejection. So we're going to box this up because the market is respecting this level right here. All right, and then it's about time that I start to label some of this stuff so I don't get lost. All right, I'm not going to have this on my chart for long. So I'm just going to put the label on there right now. And that's ultimately all I need, right? There's a million different ways to approach the market, but this is all of the information I need, honestly, to pretty much, you know, figure out what I want to do for today. All right, and then I will drop back into the 1 hour time frame just to make sure, you know, if there's other things I need to be aware of, other gaps in the market, like this gap right here. But ultimately, it looks like we're going to be trying to potentially target this gap up here, right? So I'm going to remove some of these bubbles. Then I'm going to use a horizontal line to indicate where's my liquidity on a 1 hour time frame. All right, and then where is my liquidity on the downside as well? All right, so now I can drop back into the 5 minute, make sure I'm in electronic trading hours. I'm still in regular trading hours, so now I have to go back and double check, because you always have to make sure you're in electronic trading hours when you're putting fair value gaps and everything on your chart, right? Because now, let me see this 5 minute order block. Is that 5 minute order block still right there? Nope, it looks completely different. Or do it? Let me see. No, it looks completely different, but you know what? I'm going to leave it on there because there's an inversion fair value gap right here anyways. So that still should, you know, we still should see some type of reaction on there. But let me go back and look at the 1 hour time frame, because that is the time frame we really want to be aware of when we're waiting for the first 30 minutes of the day, right? Because this is how you can avoid getting chopped up in the market. Right, and we want to avoid getting chopped up, especially on a Monday. What's up, Khaled? Khaled Hassan, what's going on, brother? Hey, bro, I'm live right now, so I'm gonna have to hit you back.
All right, yeah, just text me what you need help with.
All right, bet.
All right.
So we're pretty much just waiting, y'all. We have our levels, right? We know we have some liquidity down here. Right, we're just waiting on the higher time frames to see what the market is going to do. I don't really like where price is at currently. It's pretty much in the middle of the range. If we look at the, you know, chart that I typically use, right, you notice on here, I can box this market up real fast, but right here we also have some other key levels that can draw price up into, right, we have this new week opening gap, which is essentially right up here where this 1 hour order block is at. But currently, you know, price is just hanging around. You guys can see right here on the 1 hour chart, all I do is I pretty much label all of my 1 hour swing highs with these yellow lines that I'm using. All right, I just want to be aware of all of these swing highs. And then the same thing with the, let me see, make sure I'm not missing anything. We have one right there. We have another right there. And then the same thing with the swing lows, right? Just want to be aware of all of the 1 hour swing lows. Right, so we have all of those boxed up. And then seeing what, you know, price previously done. We was downtrending, now we clearly uptrending. All right, so we don't really know how much the market is going to move. I didn't even check Forex Factory today. Let me check Forex Factory. We need to see, make sure that we're always aware of the economic calendar. Right, but this is our overall range. And we clearly want the price to pull back into a discount zone, right? So we know we're going to be looking at this gap right here. We have a 1 hour low right there. Otherwise, then we're going to have to use this range for now, right? Price having broke below this swing low right here. So we can definitely still use this range, right? But if price starts to come and break below it, then we have to use the overall range. So right now, price is still looking bullish. Economic calendar, we don't have no red folder news today. Tomorrow we have an 8:30 red folder event. Wednesday we have another 8:30 red folder event. Thursday, same thing, 8:30 red folder event, and then same for Friday, right? Friday is CPI. So let's see what the market gives us today. We have our 100K funded account with Alpha Capital. Right, we have our 100K funded account with Alpha Capital. Let me make sure I'm logging into that. We are down on our account right now. I had pretty much my first red week of the year. It was a just emotional week, man. Just doing too much stupid stuff and then trading with emotions. I'm not perfect, but I am confident that I can bounce my account back, get it into profits, and then, you know, take this payout, right? So we got about 3.5 minutes until this 1 hour candle closed, right? So obviously if we're getting the market already swept right here. So it's looking like it's going to close above here. So we're going to drop down into the 5-minute time frame and then measure out this range on the 5-minute time frame right here, and then see what's going to happen, right? We may be able to take our first scalp off of this order block right here. Right, we don't know how low the price is going to drop down into this order block, but I would be looking at the midpoint of this wick right here on this order block. So this could be my first trade idea right here. Then obviously if we get a bounce and then could continue higher, I would just simply target this swing high right here, or maybe even these other swing highs that I have up there. So let me log into my trading account. So this trade could possibly look a little bit something like this. All right, we do have a liquidity sweep right there. So let's just see what happens. That's a 5-to-1. If we was to get in right when it came down to discount, that's almost a 2-to-1. So yeah, we want to see it come a little bit lower. Just gonna log into my trading account, my trade locker account. Then see what we can get, right? So we also have this order block, but you know, what I like more than anything right now, or I'm just trying to give you guys multiple ways that you can look at this. I would not ever enter from this order block. I will always look up to the left, a little bit further to the left, and realize that, you know, we have a couple fair value gaps that we can touch back into, right? We have this one right here. You guys can see that when price swept liquidity right there, price already hit this fair value gap right there once, right? It had a quick, sharp rejection away. And then we have this inversion fair value gap down there as well. So, and then also that's pretty much the midpoint of this wick as well. So this entire area is the area of interest that we're going to be looking for right now. Unless the market just goes up here and take out liquidity without us, then there's nothing we can do about that. So this is a 5-to-1 risk to reward. Let's see what's going to happen. Let's make sure we're looking at the 1 minute too. We pretty much have to wait and demand that the price come to where we want it to go. Because we definitely don't want to be on a 1 minute getting tripped up. But if it takes liquidity before it comes to pick us up, then, you know, the entire idea is going to just go down the drain. So let's see what happens right here. Just have to be patient. Let the market come to us. I'm going to take some of this stuff off of my chart. See what happens in here, right? Now, on the 1 minute time frame, I wouldn't be surprised if, like you see how right here we build up this little liquidity right there. I wouldn't be surprised if it, you know, sweeps this liquidity one time and then have a reaction and then have to, you know, keep building out liquidity like that. Maybe even do it one more time, freak everybody out again. So we're going to see, right? You never really know how the market is going to build the liquidity. You just have to pretty much wait and see. So we're just waiting on this trade to play out. As we wait on this trade, I want to take a look at some other markets real fast. Take a look at crypto real fast, see what crypto is doing. Let's at least go to the daily chart for crypto. We already said, you know, we already marked out our key levels on crypto. If you guys haven't watched those old videos, make sure y'all go check those out. These levels have been on my chart for weeks and at a time because I use higher time frame levels for crypto. So make sure, you know, y'all go check out those videos. And I'm also going to do another update, right? Because I want to keep you guys updated on everything that is going on in crypto right here, right? So we're looking at BTC USD. And as you guys already know, most of the time I don't even look at the daily. I'm looking at least the weekly or higher. Right, so we are coming into a discount zone on this weekly time frame. So now the question is, how far into this, you know, discount zone are we going to dig into? You guys already know, based on what I still have on my chart, right? I'm looking at this liquidity right there. I'm looking at this liquidity right there. So I do think Bitcoin is going to come down to 30,000 or below. All right, I know a lot of people don't believe it, but I definitely think that's what's going to happen. Let's go back and look at MNQ. It's trying to hit TP without us. But we have to pretty much be real patient. Right, this little 5-minute rejection block is holding price down for a little while, but I would not be trying to take sales and force a counter trend, hoping that it's going to come back down, right? I would just rather wait for it to come back down and pick us up, right? At least if it's going to do anything on a 1-minute time frame, we have this little order block. We should at least hit this order block first. But I already told you guys I'm looking for a price to come down here. Don't really know if they're going to give it to us. So because that is a pretty big move down. That's like a 200-point move to the downside. So I don't really think it could go that far low, like that low. But like I said, I just don't want to get faked out of anything. Like we do have a couple 1-minute ranges that we could have, you know, used. We did see price come into a discount right here. Now it's continuing up, so that's letting us know that it's very bullish to at least sweep this liquidity right there. And I probably was asking for a little bit too much for this pullback. So, you know, the only thing we can do now is, you know, chase it, but we would have to use one of these breakaway gaps. And this risk to reward on this trade is just not good enough for me to take this trade, right? The only way I could take this trade is if I was going to hope that it wanted to continue higher. I mean, you know, if it goes all the way up there, but that's about 130 points higher, so I don't really know how much movement we have in us today. We do know we have liquidity up here, right? And that from the other chart that we was looking at, all right, we do know that we do have this gap on the 1-hour time frame or the 4-hour, right? We do want to work up in this gap. So it's definitely possible that we can keep going higher, right? We do have this liquidity up here. But I just really want to be patient, right? The market is not really moving that fast. If I have to avoid trading today, that's, I'm completely fine with that, especially because I'm already in down draw. Right, this 5-minute candle is setting up pretty decent. If this 5-minute candle can keep going, then I will probably use this little gap as a breakaway gap. So my stop loss could maybe go in there like that. Try to see if we could find like an inversion or something like that to trade off of. Not really seeing it. But we do have, let me see, I need to put this. I need to put this new week opening gap on my chart. So let's see, we got this new week opening gap on the chart. We broke above. It would be nice if we could at least get a retest on this new week opening gap right here. I'm so glad I just discovered this on a 1-minute time frame. We still haven't swept this liquidity up here, so let me see, this trade idea is almost a 1 or 2. So this pullback could happen, maybe. But it's pretty much already taken the first level that I wanted. But I haven't taken it yet, so let's see, this could be something right here, right? Because on a 5-minute chart, we have already respected this fair value gap. So, worst come to worst, this 5-minute order block should be a stop loss right here. So let's see if we can get a pullback just like that. So I think this is a more of a realistic type of pullback right here. Let's see, our first trade idea is coming right into our zone. Let's see if we can at least get a scalp. And then we can watch this from the 5-minute time frame, because we also want to make sure we don't get turned into liquidity down here. But this 5-minute order block should hold at the very least. If it wanted to get a little bit tricky, right, this fair value gap should definitely hold price up no matter what, right? So if it do come down here and blow through this low, right, if it want to come down here and blow through this low, we know we can have this as the ultimate safe stop, right? But the reason why I'm looking to have my stop loss right here is because we have already closed the body above this 5-minute order block right here. Plus, this is our new week opening gap, right? So this purple box on my chart is very significant. So we want to just see price come down a little bit. It's still early in the session. It's only 10:13. We haven't taken a trade yet, but we're just practicing patience. I appreciate all of y'all who have dropped a like on this video, man. You guys are amazing. I really do appreciate y'all a lot. all of the people who support this channel. I just don't trust this breakaway gap right here. Like, the way it's acting as if it wants to use this gap right here as a breakaway gap, but at the same time, the reason why I don't trust it is because if this was a real breakaway gap, price would be, you know, flying to the upside. All right. Price would be flying to the upside, so I don't really trust it. The fact that it's hanging out like right below our liquidity that we're looking for, still haven't swiped it. It's like very close to swiping it though. So there, right there, just tagged one level of liquidity. Let's see what's going to happen. It's going to want to pull back any at all to give us an entry. So, well, I guess I was wrong. I guess this is a breakaway gap. So, you know, we missing every trade, but you know, if you would have used this gap as a breakaway gap, I guess the risk to reward may have been there. Let me double check that, because I think when I checked it the first time, it wasn't really there. Oh, it was a 3-to-1 right there. Oh my gosh. So I definitely miscalculated that one right there, but now it's nothing we can do about that. So I didn't really trust this breakaway gap, and the reason why I didn't trust it is because on the 5-minute time frame, we had this order block. You know, I wanted to see price come down a little bit more before we swept that liquidity right there, but this was the first level that we was interested in right here. So now, based on the 1-hour time frame, right, we know we swept this 1-hour high right here, and we know we just swept this one up there. So our next 1-hour high is going to be all the way up here, and we just don't know if the market is going to want to go that high or not. All right, there's a lot of stuff that can pull this market up, including this big wick on a 1-hour time frame. But we just have to wait for more information. So, you know, it's going to be a waiting game. I wish I could have caught that first trade. But I'm just allowing myself to like get a feel for how the market wants to move today, right? How much movement do we have in us? What's the real targets, right? You know, they still could definitely come down here and swipe this liquidity down here. Right, they could come down here and swipe this liquidity and still give us our entry. So, I mean, if you did take that first buy, it may be time to take profits. Or if they really want to keep pushing this market up, they're going to do the same thing that they just did the first time. Right? They're going to just keep using the 1-minute time frame. So you guys can see this fair value gap right here is not within the discount zone. So I would not trust this fair value gap right here to continue to pull price up. 5-minute time frame. You know, we still haven't made a swing high on a 5-minute time frame. So depending on how much we pull back, you know, we can try to look for this right here to be a breakaway gap on a 5-minute time frame. Let's say if we get a pullback down here somewhere, maybe sweep that liquidity. Maybe it could look something like that, but this market is really trying to take off without us. And I just refuse to taste. But if we can get a decent enough pullback, maybe I can get in somewhere, but it's Monday. I'm really not tripping too hard. We already missed one entry. We don't want to keep chasing it at the top. But so far, I like the price action for buys. It's pretty much impossible to take a sell in this type of price action. So if we take a look at our other chart, you guys can see we're breaking above this 5-minute order block that we talked about earlier, which is also an inversion. So we're breaking above this. Not quite, but we are at the top. You know, it just makes sense to expect that it's going to keep going higher and higher, but I really want to see what can happen if we make a swing high on a 5-minute time frame. Shout out to Mia Carter, Mia_Carter__36 for following me on Twitch. Shout out to you. Thank you for supporting me. That is so sweet. So we're going to be looking at the 5-minute because, like I said, I still want this pullback right into this zone. All right, I just want to see what is going to happen up here. We can look at it on the 1-minute. But like I say, we really need to wait for everything to connect. And in order for that to happen, we have to wait for a swing high on a 5-minute time frame. Then we can use this low down here where you see this yellow circle at. We can use that low. Wait, what am I doing? All right. So if we get a swing high to look something like that, notice how this yellow line puts this, you know, order block right into a discount zone. So we just pretty much need to wait for 2 5-minute candles to close. We have 2 more minutes until this one closes right here. And if this one closes really weak, then we possibly could take a sell. I don't really feel comfortable taking a sell, but this is really setting up to be a really nice sell, you guys. You know, as much as I don't want to get tricked out, because you know NASDAQ can do some very sketchy stuff when you try to counter trend. Even if you're right, sometimes it's just not worth it. So, and then look, now it's moving extremely fast to the downside. So let's see what happens. This is, if it's at least going to possibly give us a 1 to 3, maybe I would try it, but if it's not a 1 to 3, I'm not even going to take it for a sell. But let's see what can happen. We might get a sell, we might get a buy. You know, if we can get 2 1 to 3s today, make 6%, that would be super sweet. But I really don't want to take counter trend trades right now. I'm just trying to take what they're giving me within this time frame. And this may be the only thing. But it'd have to be like all the way up here just to even make it a 1 to 3. That's a 20-point stop loss. You know, I don't really like having 20-point stop losses. All right, then the other problem is that, right, we have this 1 minute order block right here. So we don't know if price is going to want to respect it. I don't think it will, because like I said, on the 5 minute, it looked like we're going to create some type of a swing high up in here. So let's at least see and wait for this candle to at least get close to closing. I know it just opened up, right? We're probably going to miss the sell. It's miss everything. It's a miss everything day. That's what day it is, man. I'm just going to go back into the 5 minute, try to focus on the buy that we was talking about. I was hoping I could have caught a scalp right there, but there's nothing I can do about that. Also, if we get a 5 minute swing high right here, then we have to make sure that we stay aware of the entire range. I make videos about this all the time, right? Because people get confused on how to use the Fibonacci tool. So when price is coming down right here, you might try to use this 5 minute order block to buy, and then you might just get swept out because you forgot about liquidity, right? And then this little area that we was looking for from the beginning of the screen is probably going to be where this market drop off into, right? And then at the very least, we have this 5 minute order block down there, right? So that do make me even want to sell even more now. Because look at all of these red candles. This is very algorithmic right here. All right, I'm trying to figure out where can let's at least look at it from the 2 minute time frame. It looks a little bit cleaner. My stop loss will have to be at the top of here. Targeting all the way down here. That is a 3 to 1 if I was able to catch it up there. So I'm thinking about if we can get a decent enough pullback, I'm thinking about trying this trade out right here. Looking at the 2 minute time frame. Just want to get a decent enough pullback. All right. So like, let's say if we can pull back up into at least the midpoint right here. Then we're going to use the top of this gap right here as a stop loss. So it's already a 4 to 1 risk to reward from the midpoint right here. If we was to drop it a little bit, you know, it's still decent risk to reward. Saying that to pretty much say, if we go to where I think we're going to go, the risk to reward is pretty much there even right now, right? But Drop back into the 1 minute time frame. We just got a range that we can use right there. Measure out this time frame. Discount is all the way right here. So if we go back to the 2 minute, we could just put our stop loss up there. So that's what this trade will have to look like, something like this. And then this is a 1 to 3.5 risk to reward ratio. So let's see what's going to happen. Just want a little bit more of a pullback right there. Right. I am aware that this is counter trend. I am aware that we're still respecting this range, right, for buys. So this thing could obviously rip up and just keep going up. I'm aware of all of that, you guys. So that's why we use something called risk management, right? So it's just touched my area. I'm going to sell right here. All right. I would have liked, oh man, see, I didn't even confirm the trade yet. See, I would have liked for this gap right here to stay open. So this changes a lot for me, but let's at least see how it's going to close before I get in on this trade. Because if this can close and maybe it's just this, if this body closes weak, then I'll feel way more comfortable getting in. But we need to see how this body is going to close on the 2 minute time frame. Because like I said, we don't want to really be counter trend when the market just may want to just continue to go up, right? Well, let's see what happens right here. Let's see on the 1 minute time frame. This body closed pretty strong. I don't really like that. But let's see on the 2 minute. All right, this is how you try to wait for confirmation. All right, you have to see how these bodies are going to close. I almost got excited and got in it right there, but I just don't like being counter trend, honestly. So right there, that body closed above the midpoint of this gap. I'm not in love with that right there for the sales. I am not in love with that at all. So let's see what happened, man. Do we need to sweep out this liquidity first? Let's see, I don't know. But this is not looking good for a sell. I will not take this as a sell right here. All right. Price pretty much came down here on the 1 minute time frame, swept this swing low, and then this little gap right here on the 1 minute time frame was used as the breakaway gap. So we should have been buying right there. All right, I would not be in the sell right here unless I see something happen with this 2 minute, fair value gap. But let me see, just for learning purposes, I want to see what was the risk to reward. If you would have trusted this breakaway gap and then if you would use this stop loss, targeting these highs right here again, that's another 4 to 1. So maybe we should have been buying. And this is why, you can't do counter trend. But let's see what's going to happen on the 2 minute time frame. You're still respecting this gap. I don't really like how, so for me, the way I use ICT concepts, if I'm looking for the market to go down, I don't want to see a body close above the midpoint of this gap right here. I honestly don't even want to see price touch this gap right here at all. Because now if we drop it to the 1 minute time frame, you know, if this market is going to keep going up, you could possibly just keep following the trend. But me, I just want to be real cautious, man. It's the time of day that scares me just a little bit. But like, let's say if we was going to keep going up, that's another 3-to-1 risk to reward right there. Let me see. I might have to flip-flop my entire idea. Let's see if I can go for this buy right here. All right, so I just entered a buy right there. All right, so my entry is pretty much not the best entry. It's pretty horrible entry, honestly. My stop loss is right there. Real tight stop loss, only risking about 0.5% on this trade right here with a 4-to-1 risk to reward ratio. So the goal for me right now is just to see how high we want to go up here. How much liquidity do we want to sweep? Then we're going to look on a 5-minute time frame. All right, so we know we have a high right here. Then we know we have a little bit of a gap right there, right? But this high is going to be our first target on a 5-minute time frame. If we can like really get up and start to move with some speed, maybe I'll try to hold it for as long as I can. But as you guys can see, we are in some profits right now, trying to bounce back on our funded accounts. I don't know if you guys can see that. We're in a little bit of a profit, up about almost 500. So up almost a 1-to-1. So I'm going to get ready to start trailing my stop loss, because I understand that this is a scalp, right? So we just swept this liquidity right here. So I'm going to see if we can, matter of fact, let me just move my stop at least until break even. Right? Because as I was showing y'all on my screen, it hit my liquidity zone. So I'm going to move my stop at least $200 in profit, just to be safe, right? Because we don't really know what's going to happen up here, right? We don't know how aggressive the market is going to want to go up. So we just hit an area of liquidity right there. Hopefully we could just keep going without hitting my stop right here. But I pretty much moved my stop up here to this breakaway gap right here. So my stop loss is like this right now. This is pretty much my stop loss. So I'm going to be trailing very aggressive. I'm going to be trailing my stop very aggressive right here. Moving it up now to $330 in profit. Right, we want to be smart. Right, this is just a scalp. Unless this market can really start to take off. Otherwise, if it starts to, you know, react too much off of this 5-minute liquidity, then we're just done with this trade idea. But so far, it's really powering up. We're hitting into this little zone right here. So I'm going to move my stop right there. Hopefully I don't get stopped. Oh, just got stopped right there. So as you guys can see, we had a first presented fair value gap up here from January the 19th. All right, look at this. All right, you see how it's reacting off of that first presented fair value gap? That's why I didn't really want to like be trying to hold and make that too much of a fancy trade. Right, we're just trying to bounce our account back. And the reason why I'm pretty much in down draw on this account is because I haven't really been taking profits recently, you guys. I've been trying to get way too fancy with some of these trades. Like I've been up, 2% on some of these trades, 3%, and then I'm not taking profits. So it comes from just like working all the time and being distracted and being emotional and really trying to get like a big payout. You just end up doing a bunch of stupid stuff, right? So you guys can even see some of my recent losses. All right, let me make sure. All right, let me pull this back up for you guys. So you guys could even see some of my recent losses. I've had a lot of recent losses in there, right? But you guys see, first trade of the day, we did go green, and we're trying to bounce our account back from 95,000, right? So we're down about 5% overall. And notice how we got that reaction from that first presented fair value gap, you guys. So that's why I was very quick to get out. Right, I was very quick to get out of that because, you know, we swiping liquidity up there. We don't really want to be holding as we swiping liquidity, and we know that this market have already went up, you know, hundreds of points, right? So we're trying to buy at the top of the range. But essentially, we was just reading price. Remember, I wanted to take a sell from the 2-minute time frame, right? I wanted to take this sell, but then this candle right here pretty much told me not to take a sell. And this candle told me, hey, you should have been buying down here instead, following the trend, right? So that is why I didn't take that sell. And then we just got in there for a buy. And then so now we're also going to be looking for the same thing on the 5-minute time frame. We're going to be looking for a swing high to be made. I know I have a lot on my chart, you guys. Just bear with me. So we're still within this range right here. We haven't broken this swing low, so we can use this range right here. And then once we make another swing high, we'll have another range from here to here. And then until the market breaks below some of these swing lows on the 5-minute time frame, right, we're just going to keep on using these ranges, and then, you know, we might be able to just keep, you know, finding scalps to take this market up. All right, but notice how I like protect my account, not trying to get too fancy today and hold forever and ever. And we're just watching from the 1-minute and the 5-minute time frame, right? So on the 1-minute time frame, we did sweep some extra liquidity. I wouldn't be surprised if now we're going to start seeing some type of a pullback because we still have some liquidity down here. We still got some liquidity all the way down there. So I do believe it's maybe nope. Not really a gap right there. Now we just have to wait for our next trade idea. I mean, so far 0.5%. I'm just trying to pretty much get my funded account back into profits. But, you know, we did catch that trade live. So that was pretty exciting to catch that trade live. So right here, we're looking at this range on the 1-minute time frame. And in order to figure out what we're doing next, because, you know, we're getting really close to the next 1-hour candle closing, right? Obviously, we're on the 1-minute time frame, but we're going to be checking back in with that 1-hour time frame, right? Because you remember I told you guys, I don't know if we're going to get all the way up here to this 1 hour swing high today or not. So we have to make sure that we are aware of our, right, of a swing high, right? This is a swing high. It don't look like it, but this is a swing high on a 1 hour time frame. This level right here. So on the 1 minute time frame, if we start to break down, right, once this candle closes in about 16 minutes, if we don't close strong, maybe we're going to reverse. But obviously, if we close pretty strong, then we're going to just use the 5 minute time frame again, and then try to figure out where can we take another entry for a buy, right? But this is where patience is going to come in. We just had another very aggressive pop on the 1 minute. So, you know, like I said, we're definitely not selling today until we get like a further confirmation to take some sales. Right. While we wait for the next setup, let's take a look at some other projects in the crypto markets. We looked at Bitcoin earlier. One of the top plays that I think I'm going to be buying all 2026 is Near Protocol, you guys. I love Near Protocol chart. I love where it's at right now. It's pretty much almost already sweeping its all-time lows. Right, and if we can get a 50-cent Near Protocol, I think that, right, like imagine if Near Protocol go down there and sweep its all-time lows, and then we, like imagine if it went to 50 cents or below, that could possibly give you a, what, you know, almost like a 200x if it go to $200, right? But from the very top, it can give you possible 40x, right? So I'm going to be watching Near. This is not financial advice. Make sure y'all do y'all own research, but I'm just letting y'all know what I'm possibly going to be doing. Like my top, you know, the only coins I'm really interested in getting into is pretty much Near, Chainlink, Ethereum, and Bitcoin. But Near Protocol is like the only one that's in like a buying area. If you look at Chainlink, right, it has to pull back a lot more. And then if you look at Bitcoin and Ethereum, right, these are all weekly and monthly time frames, right? So these are higher time frames. So if you look at Bitcoin, if you look at Ethereum, you can see that these have to pull back a little bit more. Another one that's in a good buy area is Atom. All right, Cosmos. This is a layer 1 crypto. You know, I still would just because the market is so bearish right now, I would rather see it just go ahead and sweep all-time lows. But I do think a lot of these cryptos are setting up for some really good buys for like the long term. You know, imagine buying all the way down here. If you can get Cosmos for $1, right, which is Atom, right? So we're looking at ATOM USDT, right? Or it could just be USD, right? That's Atom. If you get in $1 or below from the all-time lows, right, which is at like $1.30, and let's say, you know, we make it all the way back to the highs one day, I don't know how long it's going to take, but that's another almost 40-to-1 risk to reward ratio. So I just be trying to put people up on some of these charts, because if you invested just $100 into a play like this and hold it for the long term, if it goes back above its all-time highs, you will make $4,000, right? So this is why some people don't really consider trading to be like, you know, like the lottery or like gambling, because you can actually invest, right? Just the same thing that you would do with Tesla or Nvidia, you can do it with crypto. So let's see. I want to go back and check on our play. As you guys can see, we are still moving up. We're essentially just waiting for this 1 hour candle to close. But if we would have never moved our stop loss, you know, we would have been still going up in profits right now. But I'm not mad about that at all. You know, but this, we definitely missed out on a lot of profits, you guys. I just like being safe, you know. I like being safe. You guys can see I wasn't going to sit through all of this chop right here. There's no way I'm going to sit through all of that. So I pretty much sold right at the top. You know, that's how I prefer to trade, because you don't really know if the market is going to keep going. So, and it doesn't really matter if you're trading a prop firm account or if you're trading your real account. You always wanted to try to protect your profit. So that's pretty much what I was doing. You guys can go back and watch this video. I laid out this yellow box. I told you guys we're going to be drawing up into here. I don't know if we're going to get to this yellow line, which is the hourly swing high, but there's a million things that this market can draw up into, right? I have a million things on my chart. The only thing I'm waiting for now is this 1 hour candle to close, because if this 1 hour candle closes very strong, then we could possibly, you know, if we get a pullback, the last trade of the day could possibly look something like this, right? Right, just to be safe, we'll use, or this is going to be the safest stop loss to use. But for me, when the market is going in one direction very aggressively, sometimes I will use this gap right here as a stop loss. I can either use the bottom of the gap as a stop loss, or I can use the top of the gap as a stop loss, right? But the safest thing to do is to use, right, this order block down here. Use the swing low of this order block as a stop loss, right? So that's why we will have to drop into the 1 minute time frame and be aware of some liquidity, right? And then be aware of this 1 minute gap right here, because you could also, you should be able to use, if we're going to continue to go up higher, you should be able to use this 1 minute breakaway gap as a stop loss as well, right? All potential trade ideas, you have to just be able to, you know, read price in real time and use your real time analysis to figure out where the market is going to go. Right, notice how we're not over trading. We're not really pressed to be in a trade. We're not really pressed to just find something magical every 2 seconds. You know, we're just relaxing. And the reason why I'm down on my account is because I don't get this luxury when I'm on the road as a truck driver. You know, sometimes I feel rushed. Sometimes I feel like I'm distracted. You know, there's a million things that can go wrong when I'm at work trying to trade. Right, so we just waiting for this 1 hour candle to close. While we wait for this 1 hour candle to close, I'm going to be looking at some other charts. Just so I can make sure I'm staying up to date with the rest of my watch list, because I don't always check my watch list. but I have been watching a lot of crypto. Where's the gold and silver? I want to see where gold and silver is at. What's good, Tribe Order Pips? Appreciate you for being in the chat. Make sure you drop a like on the video. If you have any charts or anything that you want me to take a look at, drop a comment down below. You know, I'm always interested in learning more about y'all watch lists and what you guys are trading. All right, so we're just waiting for this 1 hour candle to close above this swing high, right? We want to make sure we can get above this swing high, right? We're looking at this as a potential target, but we don't know if the market is going to go up there or not. All right, the midpoint of this wick right here, top of this little area, we was in a buy earlier, right? We was in a buy right as it broke above here, where we had a 2-minute fair value gap. That was on the 2-minute time frame. Let's go there. All right, so price broke above here. We took a buy, and then we pretty much sold right above this liquidity, and then we also had hit a first presented fair value gap right here. So that was the reason why we sold. We got a little bit of a pullback and then continuation. Not really mad about missing the extra profits. I'm just trying to make sure I'm on the right side of the markets at all time. So we're essentially waiting for this 1 hour candle to make sure we're going to close above this level right here, because if we don't close above, then we can possibly see a retracement on a 5-minute time frame, right? We have order blocks, we have an order block, right? We have liquidity, we got liquidity. I don't think the market is going to drop magically and do all of this in one day. I think it's like more likely that we're just going to keep going higher and sweep this liquidity, but you know, just have to wait and see what the 1 hour time frame is going to do for us. So if we go up here and sweep this liquidity right now, that's going to pretty much be the day for me. I was in the 1 to 3 risk to reward ratio trade. I probably would have been up at least 1,500 by now. I was only risking about, oh no, actually I was only risking 500 to make 1,500. So I probably would have been up like 1,000 right now. Am I mad about it? Not at all. Like I said, on the 1 minute time frame, I was not going to be waiting through all of this chop right here. There's no way. You know, it's easy to say, it's easy to, you know, beat yourself up and say, I should have held the trade longer, when you see that it's, you know, it's continuing up. All right, this red box on my chart is actually a new week opening gap as well. So we're going to be watching the midpoint of this right here. We don't know if we're going to get to this yellow line or not, but I'm watching very close to see how we react at the midpoint of these levels right here. So I'm watching the midpoint. Notice how the bodies of these candles on a 1 minute time frame are not closing above the midpoint of this new day opening gap. Then we also have the new week opening gap. So we're going to see what that does to price. Obviously, we broke above this yellow line right here, which is the swing high on the 1 hour time frame. Right, the candle is getting ready to close in 4 seconds, so I doubt that it's going to just magically drop down. So now what we can look for, I don't know if it's going to give it to us, but for the last trade of the day, could possibly look something like this, right? On the 1 minute time frame, let's find liquidity on the 1 minute. All right, so we got liquidity here. All right. We don't know how much liquidity we're going to take, but on a 5 minute, what we do know is that we want our stop loss to at least be right here at the bottom of this gap right here, right? Because this is going to act as a breakaway gap. So we want it to be at our stop loss, so at the very least be at the bottom. If we're going to go real safe, then it will have to be all the way down here with these 2 order blocks. All right, and then we're going to possibly be looking for a trade like this going into that afternoon session. All right, but we need it to be at least a 1 to 3, right? So the risk to reward ratio is going to determine what type of entry I'm looking for. So we're going to look for that for a potential buy. Now, obviously, if I believe that the market could possibly come back this far, which I think it could, I'm going to go on a 1 minute time frame and start looking for a potential sell, right, to go into this level. So I'm probably just going to take a sell right now, honestly. All right. It's always better to wait for confirmation. But what I'm thinking is that I could possibly use this swing high as a stop loss and then target down here, right? So that's a 1 to 2, almost a 1 to 3, right? Obviously, it's better to wait for confirmation. But I'm trying to see. And I'm going to try to sell out right here. So I just got in right there. I'm going to try this sell. See if we can get, at the bare minimum, a little scalp going back down. All right, I may be too early. I wouldn't be surprised if we have to come up here, sweep out this liquidity, touch the midpoint of the new week opening gap first. But I just wanted to take an early entry just in case we get a random candle that wants to come all the way down here and give us some quick profits. I'm going to take that off the table as soon as possible. So I'm gonna put a yellow line on my chart, you guys, so I can show y'all where I'm possibly looking to trail my stop. So I have my stop resting right here where this yellow line is at so far, as this trade is slowly going into profits. You know, I don't really want to get too fancy. I know this is still counter trend, right? We have a little gap down here on the 1 minute time frame. Price could just very well want to, you know, come down here, touch this little order block and just keep going higher, right? So I'm going to be trying to move my stop into profits like as soon as possible. All right, so we was in profits right there for a split second. Then it came back up to our entry. So we're just at break even right now on this trade. right? We're going to make sure that we're aware of our range on a 1 minute time frame. So this is why I have my stop right here, because you guys can see this is right at the discount zone right here. So if we get to this level, I want to move my stop into profits like immediately, because I don't know if it's going to have a reaction and come up here and sweep up this liquidity up here, right? Or maybe it goes up here and sweep this liquidity first, right? We don't know. We really don't know what's going to happen. Right, we're only risking about 0.5% on this trade, by the way. Pretty much what I made earlier is what I'm risking. All right, so I got my stop loss right here where this yellow line is at. And right now, it's about, I got it moving right here. So it just dipped below. I'm looking to pretty much confirm that right there. If it goes a little bit lower, I don't want to get stopped out too early. So I'm going to confirm that right there. I might get stopped out right here. My stop loss is literally right here, you guys. So I may get stopped out. Just got stopped out right there. So that was, you know, quick trade for a small profit. I wanted it to go lower. But like I said, you guys, I was taking an early entry. So that's pretty much a nice little scalp right there. But, you know, I knew that I was early, and I know that price could still want to come up here and sweep this swing high right here on the 1 minute time frame. All right, so I told you guys I was moving that. See how on a 1 minute time frame, these candles are rejecting away from this area? So we don't want to be too early, right? We know that we're still looking for buys. I'm just getting a little impatient right here, and I'm looking for sales, right? But we definitely want to be looking for a buy. We're just pretty much selling off of this 5 minute wick right here, you guys. All right, we're not selling off of just 5 minute wick alone, right? But, you know, we're selling off of this new day opening gap. We're selling off of this new week opening gap, but we're using the wick as well on all time frames. And then on a 1 minute time frame, you know, we're just pretty much waiting for price to start rolling down to the downside. So far, we're 2 for 2. Like I told you guys, you know, I am down on my funded account. All right, let me see if I can get that on there for y'all. All right, so I am down overall on my funded account, but so far for this session, we're up $640 on our funded account. So, you know, we've been funded for almost 3 months. It's been a struggle. We did get one payout, but it's been a struggle to get that second payout. I've been up for the most part. This is the most I've been down on my funded account since I've had it. So, you know, it happens. All we can do now is like lower our risk and try to, you know, scalp everything until we can get this account back at least to break even. Then when we get it back to break even, we can trade it how we normally trade it. Maybe start using a little bit more risk, you know, maybe instead of 0.5%, we can use, you know, 0.75%, you know, or maybe something closer to a percent. But this is how I pretty much try to protect my account when I'm in down draw, right? It's nothing wrong with being in down draw. We have emotional weeks, right? A lot of us are trying to work and trade at the same time, right? I see a lot of people just like me, truck drivers on the road trying to trade, right? I mean, it happens, right? Sometimes you go into down draw. It's not the end of the world. You know, it doesn't define you as a trader. You just have to try to, you know, work past that, right? So it looked like we're not going to really pull back as much as I want. to be honest with you guys. It looked like this breakaway gap right here on a 1 minute time frame is going to be respected. This little yellow zone. But if it don't give me the pullback that I want, then there's nothing I can do. I want it to come all the way down here. That's about 100 points to the downside. It's definitely possible that it can happen. You know, we have a range on a 5 minute time frame, right? This yellow line right here is our discount, right? So everything that's down here within this zone, right, is our discount. So we're looking for the market to pull back down here. That's why I was taking the sell, but it don't have to do that, right? When the market is very bullish, all of these gaps can get left open, and then it could just keep going for liquidity, right? But the reason why I was taking my sales because, and this is an ICT gem right here, you guys, looking at the new day opening gap, right? Remember I told you guys, right, we're going to likely sweep this liquidity and hit the new week opening gap, right? When I was in that sale, I was telling you guys this is something that I was worried about, sweeping this liquidity right here, hitting the midpoint of that new week opening gap. But notice how these bodies are closing on a 1 minute time frame. Right, that is the key takeaway you should be thinking about if you're learning ICT concepts. Remember, I was trying to sell down here, right, off of this 2 minute fair value gap. But when this body closed above the midpoint of that 2 minute fair value gap, that told me immediately that the sales are not in place. Right, so that told me immediately that the sales are not in place. So you guys seen me on live screen, I instantly flipped my idea and I said, I'm taking a buy right here. That was our first trade. We took a buy and we sold right at this first presented fair value gap. Same thing up here, right? When we're reading price, we don't know if the price is going to continue up and take this liquidity today, right? It could just be building more liquidity up here. So what we're waiting for is the 1 hour candle to close, right? So we got a 1 hour candle to close above this swing high right here, which means that we're bullish, right? Which means what? In order for us to, you know, keep going up, we want to see some type of a pullback. So that's the only reason why now I'm potentially looking for a sell, because I do think that maybe, just maybe, looking at all of this liquidity that I have circled on my chart, right, the market is going to start to want to target some of this liquidity. Plus, we just hit the midpoint of the new week opening gap, right? And then we're working within a very key, significant zone right here, right? So as I'm literally telling you guys that we're looking for a pullback, the market is literally pulling back right now. So how could you trade this? Well, the same thing that I did the first time, right? If I'm going to trade this, I want to use that swing high, that's liquidity up there, as a stop loss, right? Obviously, I want to wait for more structure on a 1 minute time frame, but that's going to be the stop loss I will want to use, possibly looking for the market to come all the way down here and target some of this liquidity, right? But we have to be real patient. Just because the risk reward looks really good for this trade, this is where you need to learn how to like read the 1 minute time frame so that you don't get into the trade too early. When I was in the trade early right here, I told you guys I was in the trade early. And I told you guys I was moving my stop loss quick if we sweep these lows, because it was going to wick right back up, which is exactly what we've seen happen. Right? So, you know, sometimes you do real well when it comes to reading price. Other times, not so much. So let's see right here. Right here, what I just told you guys, right? When you're using ICT concepts, you have to be very disciplined. So once I see price breaks above this new day opening gap, and then price breaks above this new week opening gap, I'm no longer looking for sales. Just that quick. Right? You have to have rules in place based on how ICT teaches, his gap theory. And this is why he get mad at so many people for teaching it, because a lot of people, they do not teach it the right way. Okay, so now, look at prices starting to really rip up. Like I said, this breakaway gap right here on a 1 minute time frame, I'm still interested in seeing if we're going to at least come down here now and sweep some more of this liquidity right there. Right, we can move this circle off of our chart now that that liquidity has been swept. Right, and now we're going to be looking to see, do we come down here, sweep this liquidity before going back up to the upside, right? And if we can do that, maybe we could catch this trade before it happened. But the reality is, I like to be done trading by 11:30. So if nothing happens within the next, 14 minutes, then I'm probably not even going to do anything. But so far, we're in this 1 minute range, and we have been respecting this 1 minute range. So as long as we're respecting this range, I can't really look for sales. Or I can't really look for sales. I see this liquidity. I see our 1 minute range, discount zone, potential breakaway gap. I'm going to be looking for this market to pull back just to go higher, right? But the closer we get to the afternoon session, the harder it becomes to find a trade. We've taken 2 scalps. We've taken a buy. We've taken a sell. Sometimes you have to just be grateful for the little profits that you made on the day. That's especially when you're in down draw, right? When you're in down draw, you don't want to keep forcing it. Obviously, we all want to get out of down draw as soon as possible, right? I would love to make 5% today and be out of down draw. I would love for that to happen, but as I was reading price, I missed out on some good opportunities, right? I missed out, even the buy that I was in, if I would have stayed in it, this was my TP originally. So we would have gotten our 1 to 3, but that's something that I'm still working on myself, is trusting my trades to play out, right? Because a lot of times, I like for my trades to go right up to TP. I don't like to sit through all of this chop, right? Because even now, even if I was still in that buy and it's not hitting TP fast enough, I probably would have still closed the trade, right? I'm not going to sit through this chop, and I'm not going to sit through this chop. So the reason why I'm telling you guys that is to say, don't beat yourself up about take profits, right? Your take profit levels. I was going for a 1 to 3. I got a 1 to 1, still in profits on the day. I'm happy, right? I'm happy. We're just trying to take it one day at a time, get our account back into profits, and then keep it pushing. So I'm gonna move this off of my chart, and then we're just going to see what happens. As soon as this liquidity get taken on a 1 hour, then the session is pretty much done for me, because that's the last level that I'm interested in, is this liquidity on the 1 hour chart that we had marked out from the very beginning of the video. So I hope this was a good video for you guys. I truly do. I hope this is a video that you guys can go back to and replay and learn a little something about ICT concepts, right? Notice how, we only have taken 2 trades today, right? There was a couple of times where we was wrong with our analysis, but we waited, right? We waited for price. We waited for more information so that we wasn't, faked out of the trade. And even right here, you guys can see we're getting a pullback right around this liquidity that I was telling y'all about. Is this going to be the pullback to actually, you know, really start to go lower, or is this just a pullback just to continue higher, right, and take this liquidity? All right, I also want to look at the 5-minute chart, because when I'm looking for a pullback on the 5-minute, right, on this range that's on the 5-minute, I would like to see a swing high made, right? So overall, on the 5-minute chart, we have a swing low right there, swing high that's all the way up here. Right, so we know that we could possibly be dipping down all the way into here, you guys. So this could possibly be setting up for another sell. Right here, we want to see, does this 1-minute candle right here start to really go lower? You know, so far this is a small displacement, but we didn't break below any swing lows, so I don't really trust this candle just yet, but all right, y'all, I'm going to end the screen right there. My